Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about TV shows and how they're getting canceled and getting some of their episodes pulled left and right across the United States. A lot of shows have been coming under fire recently, and a recent wave of sorts of race baiting and people claiming and crying racism. This, of course, is coming from current events. A lot of racial strife has been happening in our country. There's been lots of demonstrations after some people died, and it's turned into this whole mess. And the funny thing that it's happened, the funny turn is we see all these people, they're complaining about, say, racism or police brutality, and they want changes in our country. And how does Hollywood respond? Well, they say, hey, we're going to start firing people from TV shows. We're going to say Cleveland Brown from Family Guy, his voice actor has to quit. And then we're also going to pull some episodes from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, congratulations. Good job, Hollywood. You really saved us there. Yeah, oh yeah, pulling episodes of It's Always Sunny and 30 Rock are really going to save the day here. You solved the problem of racism. Good job, Hollywood. Good job, leftists. You guys, give yourselves a pat on the back. No, but really, that's been happening across the board. Like a lot of shows have been losing episodes and going down. We've talked about it in a few cases. For example, It's Always Sunny had to remove a few episodes because they used transracial makeup as a joke in them. 30 Rock had to do the same thing. I believe even The Office had to edit out a scene that had transracial makeup. And that's what's coming up in today's story. This has come up again, but we're actually having a new angle on it. It's actually a story that's a little more hopeful than most. We're talking about a show that is not removing an episode. That's actually become the new story, and that's where we're at now. We're at a point where these things are so expected to happen. So many things are getting removed that the actual story and the interesting point is when it doesn't get removed. So this show is actually one of my favorites. I'm pretty excited that they're doing this. Mad Men has decided they're keeping their blackface episode upon returning to streaming. That's right. Mad Men decided not to cave in. They have an episode that features one scene with transracial makeup, and they're deciding not to remove it. And I think it's a good move. I'm not like for this stuff. I'm not like really a big fan of like imitating black people, like people dressing up like this. It's not like because of that. But I do think it's not as offensive as people claim. Like it's just a TV show. This case, it's kind of like a historical show that has this scenes and it happens in the 1960s and stuff. So they're doing this kind of thing to represent how things were back then. And it's also as a joke, like Mad Men has a lot of humor to it. Not as much as these other comedy shows that pulled stuff down, but perhaps that's why Mad Men can kind of get away with this and they're standing their ground. They're more of a historical show, again, representing olden times in American history, mostly in these New York City areas. And these guys work as madmen on Madison Avenue. They're working on advertisements and stuff. That's the premise for Mad Men, if you hadn't heard of it. And yeah, it's a really great show. It stars John Hamm. This other guy's a really great actor too. He's the one who eventually wears transracial makeup in this little song and dance, which we'll get to. But for now, we're just talking about how they're standing their ground. This isn't why it's great. It's great because it has a really good story and actors and characters, but this is just showing that they're having integrity. They're a strong creation. They're made by a strong leader. You know, they have a kind of thing where they're trying to keep their episodes together. It's a work of art. And with Mad Men especially, like you can see where you can't remove one episode and even like get the whole season. You know, this is a kind of story and show that goes throughout the whole season. It's a narrative. It's a long story that you need each part of. Now, they might have been able to cut out just the scene or maybe show it in a different way, but I don't think that would have helped either. I think it would have made things worse and confusing. So the fact that they're standing their ground makes even more sense when you consider that. So with that said, let's check out the article and see what else they have to say. Why Mad Men is keeping its transracial makeup episode upon its return to streaming. Every episode of AMC's Mad Men will be available on stream again later this month, including an episode featuring a character in transracial makeup. On Wednesday, Lionsgate released a statement explaining its decision not to pull Season 3's My Old Kentucky Home from the Mad Men catalog, despite the recent removals of blackface episodes from several other series, including 30 Rock, Community, and Scrubs. Now, I can already guess because this Season 3 point, it's like a central point to that episode, I think. Like this song is the name of the episode. So them taking something like that out is more pivotal. That's what I was saying before too. Like these other shows, Scrubs, Community, 30 Rock, like they don't have those seasonal arcs that are as important or as significant. Like you could watch each episode on its own. And you could do that with Mad Men too, but you really need to see the whole season to see what happens. And season by season, you have these arcs. So it makes more sense in that case, but it's also just, it's time. It's time for someone to stand up and to stop all this silliness, like to stop all this kind of, caving in to leftists, giving in to the cancel culture. Like it's getting old and it's just time to stop. And it's good to see at least something happen. The statement provided to the Los Angeles Times will double as a disclaimer attached to the episode when the period drama moves to Amazon's IMDb TV on July 15th. This episode contains disturbing images related to race in America. The title card will read, one of the characters is shown in blackface as part of an episode that shows how commonplace racism was in America in 1963. In its reliance on historical authenticity, the series producers are committed to exposing the injustices and inequities within our society that continue to this day so we can examine even the most painful parts of our history in order to reflect on who we are today and who we want to become. We are therefore presenting the original episode in its entirety, as they should. I think there is a little bit much with this disclaimer here. I think people can understand this on their own, but it's not the worst thing ever either. I think it was worse whenever we actually had the case of the HBO Max taking Gone with the Wind down and then putting a disclaimer up later. Like at least in this case, it's going up and streaming with a new disclaimer on a new website. And that can make sense. Like I can understand because honestly, like I can agree with this first part. If things get a little iffy in this section where they're complaining more and talking about all these injustices and inequities and stuff. I mean, obviously there was racism back then. I'm not like denying that, but they're just kind of getting a little too SJW for me. But in the beginning, yeah, it's a good representation. There was racism in the 60s, and this was in 1963. I believe that's why they say that in this episode. And yeah, it's historical, and that's how Gone with the Wind should have been treated too. And that's how I think all these shows should be treated. I mean, even you could argue that with these comedies that got pulled, because I know it doesn't seem like it, but these comedies come from a different era now. Like we're in post 2016 era where everything's offensive. So anything before that, even 30 Rock was mid 2000s. I think this was around 2010. This was mid 2000s too. So they're historical now too, and if they had a blackface or they had an offensive joke, I think it should remain. If they want to put a preface on it or a little note, I mean, they do that already on streaming services. Like Netflix will say, like, "Oh, this is TV mature. It has nudity. It has whichever smoking or some other thing that might be offensive." It's okay to have a disclaimer. I mean, it's a little lame. It's not the best, but it's better than taking the whole thing down. And I think having that disclaimer and keeping it up, it shows the history of it. Even if we're going just back to history of around 2005 or 2010, like that's historical now. And if they had a joke like that back then, put the preface up and just say, hey, we could joke about stuff 15 years ago. And now we can't. Now we're going to get more into the episode and what goes down in that scene. The third episode of the third season of Mad Men sees Roger Sterling, played by John Slattery, a great actor, by the way. He wears transracial makeup while serenading Jane with a rendition of My Old Kentucky Home at a country club derby party. At one point, Sterling remarks, "I did this at home for her with a little shoe polish. She thought it was a scream." While most in the audience laugh at the performance, Don Draper is visibly uncomfortable and asks his wife Betty if they can leave. My Old Kentucky Home is one of several TV installments featuring blackface to come under re-examination in recent weeks. Last month, Tina Fey requested NBC pull 4 episodes of 30 Rock featuring transracial makeup, and then she issued a controversial apology for pain they have caused. They haven't caused pain, okay? Tina Fey is just a woke SJW. She's embarrassed about her past, and she's trying to cover her tracks. And yeah, I can see why that apology is controversial. I'm not sure why they think it's controversial, but I think it is because it's weak, and she acts like she caused all this pain when she didn't. Like, first of all, 30 Rock is a funny show and all, but it's not hurting anyone. No one cares. It's not that big a deal. I know it was for Tina Fey. It was a big deal when it was on for a time. I liked it. I liked the role they gave. Alec Baldwin was great, and then, the other guys were great, but, it was just, yeah, for the pain they caused, that's a little melodramatic. And then as for the part about Mad Men, back to Mad Men, you can see Don Draper is uncomfortable. He doesn't like the transracial makeup. People didn't like it back then. And I think that's an important lesson to get from this. Like the leftists and the SJWs, they try to act like everyone was so racist in the past and like every single person in America was on board with like hating on blacks or something like that. That's not true at all. Like they had supporters. People didn't like it back then. This was just a thing. Like some people weren't thinking it's a big deal. Like whenever what's his name, Roger Sterling does it, it's to make it uncomfortable and to show how weird things were in the past and how that was a little offensive. I think I could see it. I understand, but at the same time, it's just someone putting some makeup on. It's not like a big deal. And yeah, I could see why they kept it as well. Like we were saying, it's a pivotal part of the episode. It's what the episode is named after. It's the song that he sings. And I think that song is representative. Like this kind of show has a lot of meaning like that. And it's representative of, the confliction of things at the time and also how they conflict with the way things are now. A slew of other series, including Scrubs, Community, The Office, and The Golden Girls, soon followed suit, removing multiple episodes over blackface concerns. However, the practice of deleting blackface scenes has drawn sharp scrutiny online. Instead of erasing episodes as if they never happened, many have argued that presenting the original content with a contextual note a la Mad Men is a more productive approach. Mad Men will be available to watch on IMDb TV for free starting July 15th, as well as on AMC in the fall. So, yeah, I think this last part makes a great point. I'm surprised the LA Times even left it in there because they're kind of a woke thing. They're kind of siding with the anti stuff. But yeah, I think putting the note is more reasonable, more rational. I don't even think it really needs the note, in my opinion. But if we have to do something like just give it a little context and leave these shows up, they're all part of history now. I mean, even these shows that aren't that old, like The Office ended in 2013. And yeah, that's historical now. 2015 to 2013, that's a historical time because now we can't make those jokes anymore. So the fact is these jokes have changed and things have changed for the worse. We're getting more PC, and I think it's just coming to a peak, and Mad Men finally stood their ground and put their foot down, and I hope others will soon too. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to get this thing shared, and until next time, you have a great day.